You know, for years, there was one show that was just the king of drag racing on TV. Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings was an absolute giant, a cultural phenomenon that brought this raw, unpredictable racing to everybody. But in the world of high-stakes racing, nothing lasts forever. So yeah, the king is dead, and we're about to figure out exactly what killed it.
So what did kill the biggest show in drag racing? I mean, a titan like No Prep Kings doesn't just poof, disappear overnight. Something had to go seriously wrong. So let's break down all the things that literally drove this high-octane machine right off a cliff.
But look, to really get why it fell, you gotta understand just how high it climbed. No Prep Kings, or NPK as everyone called it, was a full-blown sensation. It basically took that raw, illegal street racing vibe and just let it loose on drag strips all over the country. And the big twist? The tracks were totally unprepared on purpose, making them these rough, slick surfaces where drivers had to fight their own cars just as much as they fought each other, all for some seriously huge cash prizes.
And right at the center of it all, you had guys like Ryan Martin. As a two-time defending champ, he was the face of the show's success and its insane level of competition. This was the show at its absolute peak. The biggest names fighting for insane money, and he was gunning for a third straight title in front of massive, sold-out crowds. So, what's the whole deal with No Prep anyway? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Think of it this way. A normal drag strip is covered in this super sticky compound, kind of like glue that helps the tires grab the pavement. No Prep? Yeah, they get rid of all of that. It made every single launch a massive gamble. And it put all the focus back on driver's skill and tuning genius instead of just raw horsepower. That raw, street-style authenticity is what made the show a monster hit.
But here's the thing. With big money comes big pressure. All that success, all that cash, it kicked off this insane technological arms race. To even have a chance at winning, teams had to evolve, and that evolution, well, it came with a jaw-dropping price tag. The street was about to become a millionaire's private racetrack.
And the cars. Man, the cars started hitting just ridiculous power levels. We're talking 4,000 plus horsepower. I mean, come on, these weren't your buddy's weekend project anymore. They were straight-up engineering marvels, pushing the absolute limits and really blurring the line of what you could even call a street car anymore.
And right there, that's where this huge disconnect started to happen. On one hand, the show's selling you this image of relatable, steel-bodied cars you might see on the road, but the reality? These were full-on professional-grade race cars, costing over $500,000 each, and they were packed with technology that looked more at home at NASA than on any main street in America. So how did they get so freaking advanced? Well, first, you have the engines. Teams were using these crazy hybrid turbo supercharger setups and exotic materials just to get every last ounce of power. Then came the data. These cars were covered in sensors, feeding a constant stream of information back to the crew for real-time adjustments. And finally, everything got lighter and stronger, with custom carbon fiber bodies and 3D printed parts. This wasn't a hobby anymore, it was a high-tech profession.
So what's the price tag for all this tech? Well, get this. Sources were saying it was costing teams up to 15 grand just to show up for one race weekend. And that's if nothing goes wrong. Blowing an engine could easily be a six-figure mistake. The financial pressure was just becoming unbearable.
And you know, all that pressure, it had a real human cost. This whole arms race wasn't just about engines and carbon fiber, it was about the people, the actual drivers in their crews who suddenly couldn't afford to play the game they loved anymore.
I mean, look at a veteran racer like Bobby Ducot. When the word came out he wasn't running the full NPK schedule anymore, the reason was just brutally simple. It was just too damn expensive to compete. And he wasn't the only one feeling that squeeze. That sentiment was spreading through the pits like wildfire.
Just look at the numbers. Back in 2023, you'd roll up to an NPK event and see a field of like 32 cars or more ready to go to war. Fast forward to 2025, that number got chopped almost in half, down to just 17. The racers were literally voting with their haulers by just not showing up.
And it wasn't just the racers getting fed up. The fans were feeling it too. It was kind of wild. You had teams bleeding money just to get to the next race. And at the same time, viewers couldn't even figure out where to watch the show, with episodes being scattered all over different streaming apps. Like one user on Reddit said, if producers want views, they're going to miss out because people don't even know it's there. It was all pointing to much bigger problems going on behind the scenes.
So you've got skyrocketing costs, half-empty pits, and confused fans.
Yeah, all of this was building to a massive breaking point. You could see the cracks starting to form, and then boom, the whole thing just shattered. And then it happened. August 2025. The notifications start popping up on everyone's phones. The news breaks. The rest of the NPK season officially canceled. Just like that. The biggest tour in drag racing just went dark.
And just to give you an idea of how big this collapse was, we're not just talking about the main events. We're talking about huge, high-stakes races, like the $100,000 small tire race at Outlaws. Also gone. Wiped right off the calendar. The whole ecosystem that was built around the show just crumbled.
Okay, so NPK is gone. Is that it? Is street-style racing dead? Not even close. In fact, you could argue its collapse actually cracked open the door for the sport to get back to what it's all about.
What we're seeing now is this awesome back-to-basics movement, and it's all centered around something called small tire racing. It's exactly what it sounds like, a return to more relatable, traditional street cars. It's way less about having $1 million pro mod and way more about skill, tuning, and smart driving. You know, the stuff that made Street Outlaws so great in the first place.
And you know what? A whole new racing world is rising from the ashes of NPK. Promoters and racers are stepping up, creating their own thing. You've got Jim Howe's No Time King series, you've got local Cash Days events popping up everywhere, and well-known series like Streetcar Takeover and Outlaw Armageddon are getting a huge new boost. The sport is spreading out, becoming way more accessible and, honestly, more sustainable for everyone.
You know, this whole return to the roots, it's not just about cars and money. It's about the people who are the real heart and soul of this sport. And that's why the recent loss of Lizzie Mousy, man, that hit everybody so hard. She was a true icon, an incredible competitor, and her passion was exactly what people love about this community.
But her spirit, her legacy, it absolutely lives on. Her team at Lemon's Headers is building a beautiful tribute Norma Jean Camaro in her honor. It's this perfect symbol of the fearlessness and excellence that's going to keep driving this sport forward, no matter whose name is on the banner.
So that's where we are, and it all brings us back to one big question. Yeah, the collapse of No Prep Kings was a shock to the system, but was it really a tragedy? Or was it a painful but maybe necessary reset button that's going to lead to a healthier, more real version of the sport we all love? Is this the death of a series, or is it the rebirth of a sport?